But I don't see lower oil prices to any great degree. And what is low oil prices from 66? And incidentally, the oil recently had a low of 35, down from 147. And so I think oil could go back to $50 or 45 without any problem. On the other hand, it might move up to $80 as well. Is this speculation? Certainly is. Is the market rigged? I don't know. Now we see the CFTC, which is the Commodity Futures Trading Corporation, having an investigation right now on speculation in oil. Well, no matter what they find, they're not going to tell you the truth anyway, because it's a government organization. It's an agency of the United States government. So it's going to be another walk in the park. Nobody's going to say anything about anything, and it'll just pass. Now, I believe that large entities such as big oil companies, as well as the United States government and other speculator entities such as Goldman Sachs and other banks that work with the government, they're in the market manipulating prices, not only of oil, but most everything else, including the market prices on stocks. And so, unless you're in the inside, you're guessing at what they're going to do. So, where will oil prices go? I think they'll stay in the area that they're in until the end of the month. They could ease off into the 50, 60 area during the fall and into the winter, because there's not as much driving done, and gasoline's a big component of oil consumption. And as far as the market is concerned, Drew, it is going up now on extremely low volume, the lowest volume since 1993, and the volume on the stock exchange, 73% of the volume in the New York Stock Exchange is done by black box trading, which is where they use formulas using algorithms. And they are really the major component in the market. I mean, volume might be half of what it is today if it wasn't for these black box traders being in the market. And so the market is very, very fragile. It's way overextended. All the good earnings have come out that are going to come out in major companies for this past quarter, and they've been coming out for the last couple of weeks. What I notice in the market right now is the leadership is the second and third tier companies. And usually, historically, and I've been at this 50 years, whenever the lesser quality companies take a run, it's usually at the end of a market run or a correction. And what you've seen since March, when the Dow was at 6,600 and this rally to 9,200, we'll call it, that rally has been based upon short covering and falsified earnings. And when this thing comes down, it's going to be a bloodbath. It's a bear market rally. It's very similar to the rallies in 1930 and 1932 that sucked the public in and handed them their heads. And so as far as the market's concerned, that's what I think is going to happen.
I think I've got 2 or 3 IMs here asking about, does Mr. Chapman have any knowledge or the possibility that there is a rumor going around concerning the bank holiday or a bank holiday? Gentleman from North Carolina asked, Mr. Chapman, is there a bank holiday coming in the month of August, and do you have any idea of what they're trying to do?
Well, first of all, in mid-May, I was the first one to say that there would be a fall in the dollar, a crisis, which would include the inoculations of this swine flu serum, we'll call it, to the public, and that could possibly cause a bank holiday. And what made me think that that would happen is that the United States government has been sending U.S. currency to selected embassies throughout the world. And they have done this so that the embassies can buy local currency. And the reason for that is this, at least this is what I think. About a year and a half ago to a year and a quarter ago, the dollar on the USDX got down to 71.18. It turned around over that period of time and went higher. But during that period, which was several months, businessmen in other countries would not take dollars. Travelers' checks in dollars, credit and debit cards in dollars, they wouldn't take them. This time I think it's going to happen again because I think we're going back down there, and I'll explain where we are. And that would trigger the need for an embassy to have local currency in order to pay their bills. Pretty simple. Now, to explain the USDX, which is an index of 6 major currencies versus the dollar, it had a high 3 months ago of 89.5. And I told everybody to sell the dollar and go short, bet it was going to go down if you were into those kind of things. It's very sophisticated, and I don't recommend the average person do such things. Very, very speculative.
Mr. Chairman, could you hold that for 30 seconds? Doug, go ahead. We're going to do a 30-second commercial break for the call letters for the commercial stations. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, with Bob Chapman. This is Wind Talkers Radio Network, heard live around the world. Mr. Chapman, please continue.
So this USDX index was at 89.5, and I told people to sell dollars and go short. And presently, today it closed around 79.5, 79 or around that area. And I expect by the end of October, perhaps by the end of the year, but more nearly September or October, I think it can get back down to 71.18. And if it does that, there's going to be even more volition than before by people outside the United States to not want to take dollars. And that could cause a dollar crisis. At the same time, you have this swine flu thing going on and government demanding everybody get inoculated, and lots of people saying, no, we're not going to do that because we don't want to die. And I certainly wouldn't take their shots, I'll tell you that. And so I think it's an opportunity, if you understand the mindset of the people who run our country, and it's not political. It's a group of people, no matter what administration is in power, they run things. And, of course, it's got to stop. But what they're going to do, I think, is they're going to call a very short bank holiday because of the turmoil that's going on. That'll be the excuse. And it'll probably be 3 to 5 days in nature. And it's the sort of thing they call on Friday afternoon after the bank is closed. So they're out of action Saturday, Sunday, maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and maybe the following Thursday to go back into action. And, of course, during that period of time, nobody's going to be taking checks, perhaps. Some will, some won't. You won't be able to use your credit card, your debit card, your ATM card. You won't be able to access your funds in the bank. And they would do such a thing as a trial run to see what the reaction of the public is, where things are going to go. And it would be over with, okay? But a year and a half, 2 years, maybe sooner, down the line, I think that the dollar will break through 71.18 and go down to 40. Now that's 1/3 of what it was a couple of years ago. So the dollar will have effectively been devalued in the marketplace versus other currencies by 2/3 of its value. And that's when I think that we're going to have a bank holiday similar to the 1930s, banks that close up and don't open up again. And don't you think it can't happen? It can. And government can do anything it wants.